Influence is not about power, title, or loudness. It is the quiet currency of respect, trust, and authority. And just as quietly as it is earned, it can be lost. Most people don't realize that subtle, almost invisible behaviors are eroding their influence every day. No one calls it out. People don't announce, "You're losing influence because of this habit." They simply adjust their behavior toward you, silently withdrawing attention, trust, and respect. The first silent behavior that undermines influence is inconsistency. When your words, actions, or promises don't align, people subconsciously doubt your reliability. Influence is built on trust. If people cannot predict your actions or rely on your commitments, your ability to lead, inspire, or affect decisions quietly diminishes. Another subtle behavior is overreacting emotionally. Volatile responses signal lack of control, and people instinctively distance themselves. Influence is strengthened through measured, calm, and thoughtful reactions, even under pressure. Emotional instability communicates weakness, not leadership. Failing to listen actively is another critical habit. Influence requires understanding others' needs, desires, and perspectives. Habitually interrupting, ignoring, or dismissing contributions signals disinterest and diminishes authority. People follow those who hear them, respect them, and act on understanding. Over-justifying or over-explaining decisions is another silent behavior that erodes influence. When you feel the need to constantly rationalize your actions, others sense insecurity. Confidence projects authority. Hesitation communicates uncertainty. Concise, clear, and assured communication silently builds influence. Another behavior is avoidance of responsibility. Passing blame, avoiding accountability, or deflecting errors signals weakness. Influence thrives in those who own outcomes, learn, and act decisively. Habitual avoidance quietly signals unreliability. Procrastination is another invisible influence killer. Delayed actions, missed deadlines, and lack of follow-through communicate inefficiency. People respect and follow those who act decisively and deliver results consistently. Even minor lapses accumulate to erode perceived authority. A subtle behavior is constant approval seeking. When decisions rely excessively on validation from others, you project dependency. Influence grows from independent judgment, balanced with empathy. Habitual reliance on others for permission diminishes perceived competence. Neglecting personal presence is another silent destroyer. Slouched posture, distracted behavior, and minimal engagement reduce perceived authority. Body language is a silent communicator of strength. Standing tall, making eye contact, and demonstrating presence signals competence and draws attention naturally. Another behavior is habitual complaining. Excessive focus on problems communicates victimhood and diminishes credibility. Influence grows from resilience, solution-focused thinking, and composure under stress. People naturally follow those who can navigate challenges, not those who dwell on them. Failing to manage fear is another silent influence killer. Hesitation, over-caution, or avoidance communicates timidity. People underestimate and disengage from those who fail to act decisively. Taking informed risks builds authority and signals courage. Over-apologizing frequently is another behavior that diminishes influence. Apologies are necessary, but excessive apologizing signals insecurity and lack of confidence. People follow those who are accountable yet assertive. Habitual self-doubt reduces perceived authority. Neglecting boundaries quietly erodes influence. When others consistently overstep and you fail to enforce limits, it signals passivity. Respect and influence are stronger in those who calmly protect their time, energy, and principles. Habitual boundary neglect communicates weakness and diminishes authority. Another subtle behavior is failure to acknowledge others. Neglecting praise, recognition, or gratitude communicates self-centeredness or disinterest. Influence grows when people feel valued. Recognition strengthens relationships and solidifies authority silently. Avoiding difficult conversations is another habit that diminishes influence. Conflict, when handled calmly and strategically, signals courage and credibility. Habitually avoiding confrontation communicates fear and uncertainty, quietly reducing your perceived power. Another subtle influence killer is oversharing personal insecurities. While vulnerability can build connection, revealing too much too soon signals instability. Influence grows when sharing is strategic and purposeful. Timing and discretion enhance perception of authority. A quiet but impactful behavior is failure to follow through on self-improvement. Growth communicates discipline, ambition, and capability. Stagnation signals complacency and diminishes influence. Consistent personal development projects strength silently. Neglecting preparation is another subtle killer. Reactive behavior communicates lack of foresight and strategic thinking. Influence thrives in those who anticipate challenges, plan, and act with foresight. Habitual unpreparedness quietly diminishes authority. Passive communication is another habit that erodes influence. Failing to express opinions, insights, or needs clearly signals indecision. Influence requires assertive, calm, and thoughtful communication. Habitual passivity reduces perceived competence. Fear-driven avoidance of leadership opportunities is another behavior that diminishes influence. People follow those who step up, guide, and inspire. Avoiding responsibility, initiative, or decision-making communicates timidity, reducing authority silently. Another subtle influence killer is neglecting composure under stress. Visible panic, agitation, or emotional instability signals weakness. Calm, measured responses command attention and respect, silently reinforcing authority. Habitual loss of composure diminishes influence over time. Failing to own ideas and contributions is another subtle behavior. Deferring, avoiding credit, or hiding initiative communicates passivity. Influence grows when insights are expressed confidently and strategically. Habitual hesitation or avoidance invites underestimation. Lastly, failing to align actions with values is a subtle destroyer of influence. Inconsistency between principles and behavior communicates unreliability. People respect those whose actions reflect integrity. Habitual misalignment diminishes credibility and silently erodes authority. Here's the piercing truth. Influence is rarely lost in a dramatic moment. It diminishes quietly through repeated subtle behaviors that signal insecurity, inconsistency, or passivity. Awareness is your weapon. Observe daily habits, reflect, and ask, which behaviors silently reduce my influence? Correct them consistently and watch your impact, respect, and authority grow. Because real influence is silent, subtle, and consistent. Correcting invisible behaviors today ensures that your presence commands respect, trust, and authority.